And Epsom salts is magnesium sulfate. And magnesium is a muscle relaxant. So if someone's stressed out, sore muscles, can't sleep, they can have a...
Hello, I'm Barbara O'Neill. Today I'll introduce you to an age-old remedy that combines the powerful benefits of castor oil and Epsom salt. Together they create a potent compress that penetrates deeply to address joint pain, inflammation, scar tissue and much more. I'll guide you through simple applications for these common health issues. Let's begin. As a thank you for joining me today, we're giving away 100 free copies of my best-selling book to our subscribers. So if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, like this video, and comment why you want to win. Now let's get started.
Castor oil. And castor oil is something that penetrates deep into the body. I never advise taking castor oil by mouth because it can be quite irritating. So I'm going to show you how to make a pack. So here is, I think we're familiar with them, they're blueies. Oh, this is a greenie, but it's an incontinence pad. So what we do is we get those and we cut them and we take off that top layer and we put several layers in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 layers of that oil sheeting in there. You see, the thicker the compress, the more castor oil it can hold and the more castor oil it can go into your body. And what we do then is we tape the edges. And the reason we go to a bit of effort to do this, you can also stitch the corners because this is a compress, so it can be used again and again and again and again. And the beauty of it is it has a plastic backing on it, and you want that plastic to protect your clothing. A castor oil compress is something that I apply to my hand every night. So you might notice I've still got a little bit of swelling in my hand. It's been only 8 weeks since I broke this. The X-ray confirms that my bones are healed, but there's still a little bit of swelling there because it was quite a serious break. So I've brought you over my castor oil compress, and I've used one of those sheets that the 15-year-old's knee went through, and I've actually got about 10 layers there, and I put that on my hand like this, and I bandage it. I'm getting very good at this because I do it every night. So I quickly discovered my husband's not a nurse. He does it in a bit of a hurry and doesn't do it quite right. And so there's my castor oil compress that I will sleep with. I sleep with it every night. So why am I putting a castor oil compress on this? Because that was quite serious damage. My ulna was fractured. My radius was totally broken and out of place. Whenever you've got an injury, you've got the possibility of scar tissue building up. And so this is very good at stopping scar tissue developing. And many people have problems years later after an injury from scar tissue. So if someone maybe had appendix taken out 10 years ago, sometimes they get more problems now because of scar tissue building up from that. So castor oil will break up any unnatural substance. So it'll break up a bone spur. It'll break up kidney stones. It'll break up gallstones. It will even help to break cataracts up. So you can put a drop of castor oil on your finger and wipe it over your eye, then do it to the other eye. Could you put it in your eye? Absolutely. It's just easier to wipe it over your eye though, because it's so sticky. So if you know what castor oil does, you start to know where to apply it. When I was in I think it was Nebraska last year, a lady came to me and she was in her 70s. She said, my foot had this bunion on it, and the bunion came out about 1/2 inch. She said, I've been applying a castor oil compress to it every night for 2 months, and it's gone.
Go on.
So that's good news. So any bony formations Bone spurs, very good at breaking up bone spurs. Obviously, it's not going to do it overnight, and it's not going to do it sometimes in a month. Depends how long it's been there, depends how big it is, depends how serious it is. I've known ladies to break up fibroids by applying the castor oil compress. This would be a good size for the abdomen. So for endometriosis, it'll break up endometrial pockets, it'll break up cysts, it'll break up fibroids. And as you heard today, it's also important to balance the hormones. So balance the hormones, because it's that high estrogen that causes those growths, and then apply the castor oil compress. And we've seen ladies helped again and again with that. You can also use a castor oil compress on the chest if there's a congestion in the chest. You could wear it on the abdomen, not only for fibroids, but also for constipation. I met a lady who told me she'd conquered her irritable bowel with castor oil compresses. She said, my husband's a doctor and I was not interested in what he had to offer. And I'd heard about the castor oil. So castor oil can be used in so many areas. If someone's got a sore knee, they might do a ginger poultice one night, they might do a potato poultice the other night, and then another night they might use the castor oil, and just observe what your body likes. I've had in my thumb a little bit of rheumatoid arthritis because I have inherited the genes there. If I wear this castor oil compress every night, it never causes me any trouble. I've been wearing this compress. Well, I haven't been wearing for 8 weeks because my hand was in plaster for a while, but I've been wearing this one I've got on now for several weeks, so you can use it again and again. In the morning, I'll touch it and I'll look at my finger, and if I see oil there, I know it's still got enough oil. But if it starts to get a little bit dry, I'll put another maybe teaspoon of oil on it. Maybe after another month, I might make another one. When it starts to look a bit sad, you might make another one, but you can use the same compress for several weeks.
Castor oil is remarkable in its ability to penetrate deeply into tissues. When combined with Epsom salt, its effectiveness is amplified. I always advise against ingesting castor oil due to its strong effects on the digestive tract. Instead, using it topically with a compress is far gentler and more effective. To make this compress, I layer several pieces of cloth or a disposable incontinence pad, adding Epsom salt, and then saturate it with castor oil. This compress can hold the oil, allowing it to slowly release into the skin and tissues over hours, providing relief for a variety of ailments.
Now, we're just about wrapping up now, and there's one more thing I'd like to talk about, and that's Epsom salts. And Epsom salts is magnesium sulfate, and magnesium is a muscle relaxant. So if someone's stressed out, sore muscles, can't sleep, they can have a Epsom salts bath before they go to bed. Even put a couple of cups of Epsom salts in a hot bath. And remember, it does 3 things. It relaxes the muscles, and you might do it for aching muscles. You might do it for if you're stressed, and you might do it if you can't sleep, because magnesium and moist heat relax the muscles. But what a lot of people don't know is you can use Epsom salts for a burn. It's one of the best things to use for a burn. You can use grated potato for a burn. You can use aloe vera for a burn. They're both excellent, but you can also use a saturated solution of Epsom salts. Now, how you get a saturated solution of Epsom salts? Let's say you've got this half a glass of water, put a teaspoon of Epsom salts in and stir it. It'll dissolve. Because magnesium is a water-hungry molecule, remember? So you put that magnesium in and it'll dissolve into the water. Put another teaspoon in, mix it. Put another teaspoon in, mix it. And you keep doing that till it won't dissolve anymore. You now have a saturated solution of Epsom salts. One lady said she always has a jar in her fridge. Now, my husband was whippersnippering one morning. This is just as the program's starting. And he came running in, and I could see by the look of his face he's done something really bad, because he's always scratching or hurting himself, but, he doesn't do anything about it. For him to come to me, it's really bad. What he'd done is he'd touched the almost red-hot exhaust on the part on the whippersnipper, and he'd burnt these 3 fingers. Now, how sensitive are our fingers? And his face was white, and he was just holding his finger. Now, we were busy making beds. I think one lot of guests had gone out, the other lot were about to come in, so we were busy. So I got a bowl of water and I put his hand in it, and then I put a few teaspoons of Epsom salts. I just said, just keep it in there, and I went and made another bed, came back, dissolved, put a few more teaspoons in and told him to mix it. He said, it'll be right now, and he went to go, and then he came running back and put it in. And as I saw later, he had burnt several layers of skin. It was a very bad burn. Anyway, he said, I've got to get back to whippersnippering. So what I did, because I now had a saturated solution, I got some cloths, say just like this. So don't throw out your old tea towels and your old towels, your old sheets. Save them for your poultice box. And I soaked it in the Epsom salt solution. I didn't squeeze it right out. I kept it quite moist, not quite dripping, and I put it over every finger. And then I put Glad wrap and taped it. And I put that on every finger. And the pain came back, but only about 10% of the pain. By doing, in the bowl of water, no pain at all. But only about 10% of the pain came back, so he could endure that. And then he went back to work. Now, at lunchtime, when he came and sat with me and we ate with the guests, he was just saying, miracle, this is a miracle. He couldn't believe it, how it had stopped the pain. It's quite incredible. He had very bad burns, and they were lightly blistered, but often it won't even blister, but he had gone through just about every layer. So what I had to do after that, I just taped, because it's very hard to wrap Michael up because he just wants to get going, but I just put aloe vera. I just cut a leaf and I spliced it down the middle and just taped a hunk of aloe vera to each finger because he now had raw flesh. And of course, your skin is a protection. So if you ever break that skin or open it, you've got to put something on to protect it. Aloe vera has a growth stimulant in it. And if you cut an aloe vera leaf in half off the plant, you come back a few hours later, it's grown a skin. Have you seen that? That's because it has a growth stimulant. So you can use it internally like slippery elm for irritable bowel, and you can also use it externally for any wounds, for burns. It's excellent for that, and it helped to grow that skin very, very quickly. And I wouldn't be surprised if a doctor had seen those raw flesh, they would have suggested a skin graft. But the aloe vera grew that skin beautifully, and there's not even a sign of it now. Could I have put aloe vera straight on it? Well, I could have, but he was in such pain, we just immediately put it in water and the Epsom salts, and it was just there, so that was handy. So sometimes you won't have aloe vera, but you've got the Epsom salts. And sometimes you won't have Epsom salts, but you'll have aloe vera. So it's, as you can see by what I've shown you tonight, there's a whole lot of bits and pieces you can do, and so sometimes it depends on just what you've got available. And that's why in a crisis, students, you need that poultice box. And I hope every home has got an aloe vera plant. It's good to have these bits and pieces there.
I personally apply the castor oil and Epsom salt compress to areas where I've had injuries, like my hand. I've fractured bones in my hand, and using this compress has greatly helped reduce the risk of scar tissue. Castor oil with Epsom salt is excellent for softening and breaking down unwanted tissue, like bone spurs or scar tissue from old injuries. Epsom salt, in particular, is a valuable addition due to its magnesium content, which not only aids in reducing inflammation, but also alleviates stress by relaxing muscles. This soothing effect is helpful for those dealing with the emotional and physical stress of injury recovery. Furthermore, Epsom salt is known to help with burn injuries, providing relief to inflamed tissue and promoting faster recovery by reducing swelling and pain. Many people find that using this compress after surgery or injury prevents long-term complications and brings added relief from stress and discomfort.
Castor oil penetrates deeper than any other oil. I do not advise you drink castor oil. It can be irritating inside, but on the outside, it has quite a remarkable effect. It penetrates deeper than any other oil, and wherever it penetrates, it breaks up lumps, bumps, adhesions, bone spurs, tumours. Depending on how long the bone spur's been there, if the bone spur's been there for 3 years, it might take 3 months. If the bone spur's been there 3 months, it might only take 3 weeks. I have seen people, well, they've told me their bone spur was little by little, it was able to go with the castor oil compresses. So when I say a compress, what do I mean by that? I'll show you how we make it. We get what's called an incontinence pad. You can buy these to put under people who are incontinent. And we cut them up. So you can see that I've already cut a piece off this. And the beauty of it is it's got a plastic backing, and I open it up. You can open it like that. And I put several layers of cloth in there to make it a thick compress. You see, the thicker the compress, the more castor oil it will hold, and the more castor oil can go into you. So I have made one here. So you can see this is quite thick. I think I have got about 8 layers of cloth in there. And what I do is I tape the edges with masking tape, and I've clipped the edges with a stapler, or you could stitch it. And when I applied the castor oil earlier, it was like a thick layer on top. And so you sit that down and you leave it for maybe 20 minutes, maybe half an hour, waiting for it to soak through. It is soaked through now, and that's quite wet. And you can see that it doesn't take up the whole of the poultice, because when that goes on the body, the heat of the body will thin the oil, and it'll leave a little bit of a room for it to spread out. So this is a good size for the chest, for a congested chest. It's a good size for the abdomen. It can be put on the abdomen for constipation. It can also be put on the abdominal wall for irritable bowel. It could be put under the rib for the liver, for gallstones. It can also be put at the back for kidney stones. It could be put over a knee for a painful knee. So you can see we're getting to the part in our presentation where for a sore knee, say, you might try the ginger poultice. Another time you might try the greater potato poultice. And another time you might try the castor oil. And you will get to see what the different poultices do. But remember, this penetrates deep. And because it's not drawing anything out of you, you can use the same compress again and again and again. You might even use the same one for a couple of months. Maybe every 2 days it's starting to feel a bit dry, you'd put a little bit more castor oil there. You'll get to know. And you can just fold it over, put it aside, and bring it out the next night. I've spoken to women who've been able to break up breast lumps using the castor oil compress. I've also spoken to women who've been able to clear up their breast cancer with castor oil compresses on the breast. It's not the whole program. There's a whole lot of things that you do.
The castor oil and Epsom salt compress works wonders on bunions, gallstones, and even kidney stones. I met a woman who had a large bunion, and after applying a compress each night for 2 months, the bunion reduced significantly. For deeper issues like gallstones, placing the compress over the liver or kidneys can help break down these formations. Although it doesn't work overnight, consistency is key. Apply the compress regularly, and over time you'll notice the relief. Castor oil is gentle but powerful, and when paired with Epsom salt, it can target specific areas of discomfort.
But many people don't promptly answer nature's immediate call, and their colon gets into the habit of not going when it should. And there's something else you can wear on your colon for a few hours a day, and it's a castor oil compress. Castor oil is an oil that penetrates deeper than any other oil, and it'll break up the congestion in the colon and help you to pass with ease. So if someone tends to constipation, it's very important that they invest in a $2 plastic stool from the Crazy Clarks. Do you have Crazy Clarks? $2 shop balls. I don't know, something like that. Okay, those shops. Or they go to Bed Bath and Beyond and invest in a squatty potty. So take the pressure off there and start drinking more water, start wearing the castor oil compress on there. And if you weren't in the lecture that showed how to make compresses, you can Google Barbara O'Neill poultices, and in the poultice lecture it shows you. But it's a few layers of cloth with castor oil on it, put on the abdomen, cover it with plastic. Usually your clothes will hold it there. In fact, one lady who came to our program, she said, I used to have irritable bowel. And when I had irritable bowel, my husband, who's a doctor, came in and told me what he was going to do is going to be cortisone and anti-inflammatories, and if that didn't slow it down, we'll just open you up and cut that part out. Ugh. It actually defies reason, doesn't it? You know, I'm not criticising doctors. They do the best they can. You know, poor doctors, people beat themselves up and then they come to the doctor and think there's going to be a quick fix, but there actually isn't. There isn't a quick fix. The body can heal itself. It's little by little by little it breaks down. It bears so long under abuse. And so it's little by little, given the right conditions, that it can start to build up and heal again. So this lady decided not to do what her doctor husband suggested, and she'd heard about the castor oil, so she started wearing castor oil compresses on her abdomen. And she said, I healed myself of irritable bowel with castor oil. So castor oil will penetrate deep and it'll help to ease any inflammation. It will also penetrate deep and break up any lumps and bumps in the area if the person has constipation. You see, herbs are synergistic. They work with the needs of the human body. That's the good news. So let's come down here and, oh dear, there are those horrible little things called hemorrhoids. What can you do to get relief there? Squatty potty, so you take pressure off them. But there are a few things you can do. You can soak a cotton ball in castor oil and shape it to the shape of your little finger and put it in the freezer. Now, it will take about 4 days to freeze. And once it's frozen and it's, solid, you can insert it and leave it in there overnight. And the castor oil brings great relief to that hemorrhoid.
If you struggle with digestive issues like constipation, this compress can help. By placing it over the abdomen, castor oil and Epsom salt help soothe inflammation and break down congested areas in the digestive tract. This gentle action can help with conditions like irritable bowel and constipation. A few layers of cloth soaked in castor oil and sprinkled with Epsom salt, placed over the abdomen for a few hours, can promote digestive ease. One woman who attended my program had irritable bowel syndrome and found consistent relief with this simple treatment.
Has a powerful anti-inflammatory effect. We had a lady attend one of our programs and she had a very swollen finger joint. She said, this finger has been hurting me for about a year. And she could not bend her finger. It was so painful. And she said, I'm right-handed. It interferes with my ability to write, to prepare food, to sew. She said it's really difficult. But she said, I'm in my late 60s now. I guess, I'm getting arthritis. How many people think that they're getting into their late 50s, 60s, so these sorts of things are going to happen? But I can tell you now, we've seen people totally free from them. So we put a grated ginger poultice on her, and of course that was a little tiny one that we put on her finger. The next morning she came in and she said, I have no pain in that finger. She said, I even slept all night. When I was going to sleep, it was feeling very hot. She said, and I wondered if I'd be able to sleep because it felt so hot. But she said, I went to sleep, and she said in the morning it didn't feel hot anymore. When I took the poultice off, she said I could bend my finger. The swelling wasn't totally down, but it certainly was almost halfway down, just a very simple little ginger poultice. Now, I do warn people, don't put it on just before you go to bed because you might wake in half an hour with your skin very, very hot where the poultice is, and that could interfere with your ability to sleep. So I suggest people put the ginger poultice on and put it on, just choose one painful joint where you put it on and just see how it feels. Maybe you'll put it on at 6 o'clock and you're going to bed at 9 o'clock. See how it feels by 9 o'clock. If it's just too hot, take it off. Even that amount of time, it will have an effect. And remember that hot skin is an indication of the inflammation that it's drawn out of the joints and to the skin. One lady did it too much. She did it overnight. She did it the next day to the middle of the day, changed it again, did it to the evening, then did another one overnight, and she did it to her knee, and she said she was so excited because it reduced the pain in her knee right down. So she just wanted to keep doing it. And then she sent me a picture of her knee. The tissue was red and swollen, and she had blisters on the skin. She said, what have I done? I said, you've just overdone it. I said, no more ginger poultices for another week. She said, I can handle that because my knee is certainly moving a lot better. I said, you might like to just put castor oil compresses, and that's another one that can be used as castor oil. Castor oil doesn't have as dramatic effect as the ginger poultice, but castor oil can be used almost indefinitely. You could almost wear it 24/7. Castor oil penetrates very, very deep, and it can break up scar tissue. It can also break up calcifications, and sometimes with arthritis you've got calcified joints. Now, so we'll say calcifications because this is some of the cause for the pain in the joints. So the scar tissue obviously is going to break up a little bit easier than the calcified joints, but eventually it will do it. The key is consistency. Just keep at it. Just keep applying it every day, every day. Some people like to sleep with the castor oil compress overnight. Now, the thicker the compress, I like to do about 6 layers of cloth or maybe 3 layers of toweling, and I stitch it together and we put plastic underneath it. See, when you apply it, let's say you're applying it to the knee, you apply it and then you put the plastic over and then you bandage it on. The plastic just keeps the compress from chilling as it does with the ginger, and it also protects your clothes from being soiled from the castor oil, or if it's the ginger juice. The castor oil can be used, the castor oil compress can be used again and again and again and again. You might even use it for a month. By then it might be looking a little bit sad and you might make a fresh one. I'll leave the decision up to you, because the castor oil is not drawing anything out of you. It's just a vehicle to hold the oil so that it can go into you. So this is a gentler poultice, but it's actually quite powerful. It can break up a bone spur, and so any calcification anywhere in the body, it has the ability to break that up. Remember, it penetrates deeper than any other oil, and wherever it penetrates, it has the ability to break up the congestion, scar tissue, calcification in that area. The more serious the condition, of course, the longer it's going to take, and the longer it's been like that, the longer it can take. So the swollen joints, you might do the ginger poultice for a few hours, and then you might do the castor oil overnight every night. So play with them. Remember, you're the doctor. Listen to what your body says. If it brings relief, do it. If it doesn't bring relief, maybe you need to do it for a little bit longer. Maybe you need to adjust the times that you do it. But your body will speak to you and it will tell you what it likes. And if you don't get the results straight away, just keep going.
Joint issues, especially those from arthritis, can be relieved using this compress. The anti-inflammatory effects of castor oil, combined with the soothing properties of Epsom salt, penetrate deeply, providing long-lasting relief. A woman in her late 60s struggled with arthritis in her finger, finding immense relief after using a ginger poultice one night and following it with the castor oil and Epsom salt compress. For calcified joints, daily applications are key. You can reuse the same compress for weeks, simply adding a bit more castor oil when it starts to dry out. Consistent, nightly use breaks down calcifications and softens hardened tissue, allowing for greater mobility and less pain. Thank you for joining me today to learn about the incredible benefits of castor oil and Epsom salt. This powerful duo, when used in a simple compress, can bring relief to a variety of ailments from joint pain to scar tissue and digestive health. Remember, the key to success with natural remedies is consistency and patience. I hope you find these tips helpful and empowering.